Good evening, everyone. Welcome to GNR at Newquay on this evening, 12th of January. It's a nice day today, predicted 90% rain, so I don't know what that went. Not complaining that it didn't rain, but wonderful. So, onwards and upwards. Apologies.
Good evening, members. I have apologies from Councillors Wright, Jacobs and North.
Thank you. Any interests? I've always wanted to say like stamp collecting or, bird watching or, sorry. It's a bit like being a chair, isn't it? Minutes. Right. I'm happy to propose the minutes for Monday the 29th of October. Oh no, it's the ones afterwards, the 27th of the 10th. It's only one set, isn't it, or is it both? No, one set.
Yes, it's the set of minutes, but there's a confidential.
Right, which is separate. So I'm happy to propose that. Seconder?
Yeah, I'll second.
Thank you. All in favour? Brilliant. So I'm going to have to keep going pause. Right, and then the confidential extra bit. Sorry, so I'll... Just information. Yeah. Sorry. So that doesn't need voting on? No. Right, okay. I've got it up on the screen and I've got it on my notes on paper. I'm sort of going a bit backwards and forwards. Right, matters arising. Has anybody got any matters of arising they want to... No? Andy, did you want to... No? Say anything?
There is a list, so... The list of actions are basically off the system. We're going to do a clear process, so you'll notice a number of them have got green everywhere, but they're still showing as overdue because someone hasn't just clicked the button to clear them. So that's just, we kept it on there, so there's transparency, but we're going to go through and change all that. And then there was just a very brief update on the concrete waves action, which is a separate email, just for information, but it just says a response, a holding response to us.
Brilliant. So nobody got any queries on blue and red dots? No?
I think so.
No? Great. Right, open session for electors of Newquay. So we have in the gallery the new local member for Colne and Colne Minor and Colne parishes. Normally, if we'd have questions, or but have you got any questions that is purely regarding with the agenda tonight? You're just here to. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Brilliant. We haven't had a sudden influx. Haven't suddenly been inundated with postman pack. I mean, right, okay. Brilliant. Oh, I like the pace that this is going. Right, let's go up on that. Oh, item 6. Oh, for goodness sakes. Right, annual preset budget and general fund recommendations. So over to Anne. I think, isn't it?
I think it's a bit of
a joint Anne and Andy sort of.
So you have been supplied with the draft budget report and the individual budget breakdowns, which hopefully you've had a chance to go through. And essentially we've tried to keep the report a little bit shorter than it's been in the past and exclude the budget detail in a separate, so it's easier for people to find as well. But essentially the information that you require and that you're looking at is on this second page, where you're looking at your preset amount your gross expenditure, your preset and your general fund balance, and also the impact in terms of a Band D rate, what the increase is for last year, and the weekly increase, which is there. There were some small savings that were made by each committee following the last meeting of GNR and the request to go back to committee. So those have been factored into this, and the precept has been reduced in line with those. And there, in the documents that are attached, the budget breakdowns, I've clearly highlighted in yellow the lines that have been changed since you last viewed the budgets. So just for your information, so it might be easier just to have a quick look at those if you're interested. But actually these are the public ones, so they don't have those lines on. I apologise. So let me just go back, open mine a second. They were all things that we had discussed at GNR anyway, so there should be no surprises. Let me just close my, turn my volume off. Don't want that going off. So things that we slightly had included in this that weren't included before, we changed due to the requirements of this building and spend. We took 270,000 out of the general fund, given its balance, and put it into the spend in this budget so that there was money available for the refurbishments and upgradings to this building. So that's money that's been funded internally from the general fund. We had a revaluation in terms of the staffing budget for the local government pension scheme, and they've changed the way that they do that now. So we've got a 0.1% increase on all of it, but we don't have to do the secondary pension contribution. So that £9,000 has been taken out of that budget. In C&T, they removed some funding which had been allocated for Halloween event. So that was agreed to be removed. And in ENF and the town toilets, there was one item where there had been agreed to buy some coin machines, entry systems, now out of an underspend in this budget, and then obviously that was taken out of that budget. So most of them are in there from the 1st of April onwards, but there were a couple that we agreed to do. So those changes obviously had an impact and lowered that figure, but that's where you are in terms of your budget, and it's page 2. Andy can obviously give you some more detail if you want, or if you've got questions.
Yeah, all I would add is that obviously we looked at another option, which was lowering the increase for next year. And I think the issue with that is it pushes the problem to the second year, and there's a significant move because it's next year plus that year combined. So it is a big number difference. So I think following the premise that the council set a few years ago of trying not to go along this seesawing effect, try and smooth everything, and try really to stick with an inflationary rise, this was the best option to make sure the future you're not seeing that seesaw effect. And there are still risks in what we're proposing, but they're much more mitigated and you've got more resources to handle them if they do go wrong. So that's all I would say, but happy to answer any questions.
I think the one other thing from my perspective is the shift in change from when I first joined around making sure that there was the actual spend for each of the departments in the budget, and the fact that we're moving much more towards that, the fact that we're using the EMRs as they should be for things that we're planning in the future, not just, we haven't thought about that, or emergency expenditure. And then I suppose the only real difference is that 270,000 that we've used from the general fund this time, because the general fund, council's policy is to try to keep it to the minimum, and that we were slightly creeping over that, so we felt it was fair. It is stuff that the council's committed to do, so we would use that, and that doesn't have an impact obviously on the budget and the precept. So that's where we were with those.
I suppose less of a question, more of a statement. I suppose on. So firstly, thank you as always, Anne and Andy, for putting together a very comprehensive and thorough budget report. And I know it's shorter than previous years, so thanks, Anne. But I think all of the personal information is there for us to see. I think a couple of things that I suppose I'd note, like the chair, whilst we are the largest electorate in Cornwall, looking at the numbers and knowing what other towns and parishes around Cornwall are doing with their precept this year, what we can say is that we are, by the looks of it, we won't have the biggest precept, we won't have the second biggest precept, we may not even have the third biggest precept in Cornwall, despite the fact we have the largest population and are delivering significantly more services than many and I would argue most town councils in Cornwall, with certainly the highest expenditure on tourism in Cornwall. The other thing I would note is along those same lines, I don't even think we're in top 4 in terms of what our Band D precept is, knowing what I know of Falmouth, Truro and others on that list. So I think what we've done is we've shown that we can run many wonderful services in Newquay without having to go anywhere near the top 3 or 4 in terms of our expenditure per household. So I think we should congratulate ourselves on that. Obviously last year we didn't increase the precept at all. We had a 0% precept increase, mindful of the cost of living crisis, which of course we appreciate is still very much live. But we absorbed a lot of the costs, certainly the cost of inflation and the cost of increase in services over the last few years. This year, obviously, going into next year, what we're going to be doing is further increasing those services, particularly our youth services, which are absolutely decimated across the county after many, many years of austerity. And we are proposing to reinvigorate youth services to the tune of probably a 6-figure sum ultimately when we deliver them once we've devolved the youth centre from Cornwall Council. I think all these are really important pieces of information going into this budget. Ultimately, what the report talks about is a 93 pence per week increase for a Band D property. Obviously, no increase would be better. But I think given that what we're doing is we're going to be providing services that don't currently exist in Newquay, I think this is a tolerable amount to ensure that the future of our young people in Newquay is better than it is today, and that includes mothers, children, and going into the working age as well. So lots of comments there about the overall report. I think it's a sensible report. I think it's a sensible budget that delivers services. And just, for anyone watching, CCTV, library, tourist information, obviously we have our corporate service, environment and facilities committees, all of the 13 toilets that we currently operate around the town, as well as community centres, as well as a youth centre, as well as other services that we deliver. So huge amount of services we're delivering on this budget next year. And yes, I appreciate 93% pence increase per week isn't where anyone wants to be, but I think it's a prudent budget. Thanks, Chair.
I mean, for in terms of Cornwall on, Newquay at the moment, I think is 8th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th, 9th. But as I understand it, Redruth's, when their increase goes in, they'll overtake us as well. So, from the other towns in Cornwall, we're not at the top by any means for Band D contribution for precept. So, any comments, Sandy? Yeah.
Well, I promised I would really look at this budget, and I have really looked at it, and I can only come to one conclusion at the end of it, and that is to support it. Because I think it is a good budget. I think it's addressing the things we need to address in Newquay, and it's looking after the staff It's doing the job it's there to do, so I should be supporting this budget.
Thank you, Sally. Steve? No? No? Anything else you want to
I just,
Oh, yeah.
there was one thing I didn't, and of course, this budget also will be adding new services such as a new play park to Newquay. Whilst the initial expenditure costs for that, the capital expenditure costs, that will be met by Boardmasters and the SEAL Fund. Obviously, ongoing costs for maintaining and ensuring that that play park, and indeed all the play parks that we have here in Newquay that belong to the Town Council, are kept up to scratch and maintained for our young people. I'd say this is a budget for the young people.
Yeah, Newquay's future, absolutely. And, you know, talking future, you know, we have to budget for the future as well, whether it's our small piece of cliff that, you know, can be, all the cliffs around Newquay are showing at the moment to be unpredictable, or the amount of vandalism that, you know, we're coping with as well that need repairing. So I'm happy.
The income we were getting from second homes has dropped off as well, isn't it? Because I think they've learned how to get around things.
Yeah, so obviously that was one thing I didn't say. You're quite right, Councillor Slade. We saw a reduction in the second home tax. That's the double council tax that those of the community that are lucky enough to have two houses, not one, are paying. And obviously, unfortunately, you know, it's really disappointing to see that those who can afford two homes have chosen to go through one of the loopholes to reduce the council tax precept. From our perspective, I'm not sure what the number is on that. I'm sure Anne will be able to tell us, but I think regardless, you know, we're obviously backfilling that with this budget as well.
Yeah, and do you know?
Yeah, just to respond to that, it was a 14% decrease, which is lower than we thought it would be. So obviously that helps. But yeah, it's a 14%.
So I'm happy to propose these to put forward then for full council for agreement. Seconder? Oh. I don't know. Everyone just can sit here and wave their hands around. But I think Councillor Slade got in there first. So seconding, all votes in favour? Brilliant. Thank you. Right. Sorry, I need to try and manage my paperwork to go through. Right, that's so item 7 then. Budget monitoring report, quarterly. So over to Anne again, I think. Go, Anne.
Okay, so you've got a number of documents here that we are regularly putting towards each or to each committee every time they meet. Hopefully, a more up-to-date one. The first document on the IBAB system is a list of the EMRs that the GNR committee holds. It shows the additions that were agreed as part of the budget setting, the releases that have been agreed over the last couple of years that have been released, and the future commitments as well. So you can see there's quite a significant amount of money within that budget there. The next document that you've got is the budget for GNR. And again, this is very much, all of the comments are in the side column. It's done red and green in terms of anything over a £500 difference should be explained and should have a comment, but there's nothing in there really that needs to be highlighted to you as such. Some of these budgets obviously get reallocated across different departments because they're just holding funds. And then the third document is a project update. So some of the codes within that second sheet, I feel need a little bit more explanation in terms of what they include, because sometimes you can't really put a comment that covers everything. So I always include them and they get split out so you can see exactly what is being covered and what has been spent. If there's anything ever on the budget report that you would like further analysis for, you just let me know and I will add it on to that third document so that you have a breakdown going forward. It's always about trying to be transparent and for you to have the information that you're interested in. If you're interested in it, then it's likely that the public are interested in it too. So, you know, I'm just open to that. So it's just if there's any questions.
Any questions? Everyone's looking at the door really intense. You're looking at it.
Just one question.
Yeah, go for it. No.
Just looking at the second page of that document and under the election expenses, so we've got 45,000 recharge for election costs. Was that for the May elections? And is that what Cornwall Council charged us?
So the 40,000 was the worst case scenario budget that we would have had to have spent if we had to do voting polls and everything. That's the 1,154 is the amount that we had been charged to date. I believe there's a couple that have come in later, so it's not a huge difference.
Okay.
From what is in there year to date, because this is up to the end of November, so there's a bit of a time delay in it coming to you. So there'll be quite a large amount of underspend in that budget by the end of the financial year, and that will then get put back into that budget for future years. So
That's
it doesn't
good, yeah.
just get lost,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
reallocated.
Because that EMR was running low, because I know that we had a number of elections in 2021, 22, 23, and I know that came out of expense. But I'm surprised that given that the elections last year for the town council were uncontested, that we are forced to pay anything to Cornwall Council, frankly, because they would have had to facilitate the polling stations and the staff for the Cornwall Council elections. Why are they charging the town council for that? Oh, certainly a question I'll be asking Kate Canally when I see her.
Yeah, I mean, on that, certainly it's one for Kate to respond to in terms of the amount, but they did say at the start of the process to calc that there will be a fee per ward, whether it's contested or not, and that's to cover all the administration behind the scenes, the form filling, the getting everything in time, and it was roughly about £1,000 per ward, roughly. So we are still going to be charged another 3,000 or 4,000 on top of that figure.
What cost of democracy?
I'm sure it's much cheaper and, well, no, I'm not going to go there. No, don't go there. Anne, would it be possible for you to page number stuff when?
Absolutely.
Because it's thank you. This is all really for noting, isn't it? We don't have to vote. We don't have to vote on that. So.
Vote for noting, because you can take a vote for
Oh
noting.
right, okay. I'll put it. Yeah, I'll put it through for proposed for noting then. That unless anyone's got any other questions, no. Sandy, no. Seconder, yeah. In favour. Wonderful. Drew seconded. Yeah. Brilliant. Right. Item 8 then is devolution update. So Andy, you're going to do a verbal update then on.
Yes, so just a very brief update. I know we've been talking in the background around the youth centre. There are some prerequisites to Cornwall Council's release of that building, not least the location of one of their services. We think we've helped in resolving that, which leads on to the St John's Ambulance building as one of the buildings that Cornwall Council appears to be green-lighting to transfer at some stage to us. That's not confirmed yet, but that will help us decamp from the ground floor of this building, which frees up the space for Cornwall Council's occupation if they're happy to occupy it, and then that frees up the youth centre for devolution. So there's 2 buildings in that particular mix. And then on the sideline, we've got the Godolphin Atlantic football grounds, which we're working with them to transfer that, basically to protect it and secure it for the future. And we're now liaising with the current leaseholders to try and make sure that that site can be run as sustainable as possible for grassroots organisations. So those are really the key ones at the moment.
Brilliant. Anyone got any questions for Andy on that? No?
And of course, Meltwise Gardens. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. How's the, any covenants on that going? Okay.
We're looking into the legals of everything, and that's going through the process at the moment.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Where are we up to? Grants, yeah, number 9. Right, number 9. Grant scheme applications and grant award. So, over to Anne, I've got down. Is that right, Anne?
Yeah. Was the report on there? Let me look. Yes, sorry, I was one behind, apologies.
No, that's okay. No, it's quite hard keeping paper monitoring.
So essentially, I put together a report that details what the budgets have been spent for so far in terms of grant requests, and highlighted that there is some funding available. And as per C&T's request, is asking this committee if we could reopen the grant requests, and if so, also whether they would still consider releasing the £400 to the Sea Cadets. It's just as set out in my report, really.
Sorry, Anne. Are we not on 9A to appoint Nuki and Bloom as preferred partner for 26-27?
Oh, sorry, that's my bad. That is for Andy. Are you doing?
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know whether you want to continue with this as well.
We'll continue with this one. Sorry, yeah, I'd written it down here, Anne, and sorry, that's my bad. Sorry, Anne. Okay, right, which is 9B, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in the report, there's a recommendation
Yes.
that we reopen the grants gateway
Yeah.
and allow the remaining balance of the grant funding to be used. That's £2,924.25 for C&T and
Yeah.
1,650 for GNR, and then we'll contact those organisations we know have expressed an interest or applied, but
Yeah.
also to support Sea Cadets for the £400 that was agreed by C&T at the meeting in November.
So C&T were in support of that grant release,
Yeah.
but obviously they couldn't because it wasn't open. So they requested that it could be reopened and then allowed.
And so we're recommending this to go to full council.
So if you agree tonight, we'll reopen it purely because of timelines as well, because applications need to be considered and brought back to committee before the year end.
Yeah. And I'll second that. So all those in favour of this, yeah. Yeah, brilliant. We're going to relook at the process of how a grants. When are we doing that? Are we doing that later this evening? No.
So the next item, which is 9A, if we jump back, that's to look at the principle of having partners for a particular year.
Yeah.
And having looked at how that would work in practice and making sure that we're abiding by all the different various rules we have to follow, the suggestion is that we have your grants process. There would be a short-cutted process, which is basically a simplification of the forms and, how much money is there, how they access that money, and they still have to meet all the criteria in terms of receipts and proving that they've done what they've said they were going to do. But it would be a much quicker process than having to come to committee, doing a presentation, waiting for the decision, then getting told you can have the money, not having that money till after the event. So there will be a shortened version, which we're working on at the moment. If members are happy with that principle, we will just change the policy so that it is a shorter process, that we have to meet minimum standards.
Yeah, I mean, from being at Nuki and Bloom meeting this morning, they're wondering if it could be for longer than a year.
So one of the things that I had mentioned that we wanted to look at, and I discussed with some of the grants people here, was that they could request it for a longer time period, because there may be a group or a charity or something that's set up for a set time period or a set project, and they might want support over a certain amount of time. So it would be up to council to look at that going forward. But obviously, if you make commitments to something like that, you have to ensure it's in your budget in coming years. You then can't support and then take it out. So I think it's something that should definitely be included within the ability of that preferred partner request.
Yeah.
Well, first it's like, how do we decide who gets to be a partner? I mean, it's just Nuke and Bloom, but what's to say that other organisations wouldn't want to do the same thing?
There are other ones like Pride and the Twinning Association, things like that.
Fine, and then I think the year thing is that, I'm sure it's like onerous to have to do it every year, but it does fit in better with our budgets, doesn't it, without us having to...
Yeah, absolutely. I think probably with a preferred partner, you'd be looking at having a number of applications from outside committees by a date in line for your budget, so that you know going forward that they would have your support from the following year for a set amount for, say, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. It would be a maximum of 3 years. You wouldn't go above that. And then, you know, they would put something to you as a committee, probably outside of this process, so that it would always be for the coming year, if that makes sense. So it would be part of that budget process. So if they wanted something in this year, because it's a new policy, they'd probably still go through the existing grants process for this year, but we need to make sure that we've got it in line so that when we do budgets next year, everything is in place, it's very clear, and they can apply for a longer term period.
Yeah, there was... the other thing was is sort of like what sort of costs would they be looked to covering? Because, you know, grants and things, you always, you know, you're getting grants and things for tools and stuff like that. But would the money be offsettable like for admin costs? No.
I think that's where the council's been clear, no. So
No.
it would still be within the principle of the grants process, but they just, because they're partners and
Yeah.
we're working with them for that year or 2 years or 3 years, they would be able to do a quicker process. And suggested if it's a future year, they would say, well, this is our plan for next year. Could we have a budget for that, please? And committee would still go through the process and approve it. But it's a shortened process. So we wouldn't be changing the policy to say they can now, you know, cover things like insurance costs, administration costs, because we know that's unsustainable and we can't do that for everyone. So there's an unfairness that's coming into it now.
Okay, yeah, just wondering. Yeah, these things that are put to me. Any other questions for Anne on that? Yeah, I'll second. All those in favour? Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. No, we're on 10. Sorry, yeah, I'm just trying to coordinate bits of paper. That was the Sea Cadets. Right, assertion reviews. These are sort of just for noting and voting on that due process has taken place. Has we've got any questions from the assertion reviews? They're all okay? No. You got, yeah, because I had it in my diary as well for tomorrow, but we do have 2 people tomorrow, me being the backup. Brilliant. Okay, show up. Wonderful. Okay, so I'm happy to propose. Oh, sorry, Anne. Oh, yep.
Can I just say one thing? From our perspective, as a finance team, we, after the request of councillors, moved these to evenings to help facilitate councillors attending, and then on occasions they haven't turned up without letting us know. So it would, and there is an onus on all councillors to look and attend at least one of these every year, because they have to agree and sign off details at the end of the financial year of the statement of accounts, and they are not able to do that unless they've attended. And there are a significant number of councillors that have not attended, and I think that should be highlighted to full council, because there aren't very many months left in the year.
Yeah. I think as well, I have a suspicion that maybe the newbies don't actually know what assertion review means or what it is. So I suspect we're a bit late for, I'm sure Councillor Creek can mention that, but you know, we all use, I mean, it's a term, isn't it, that we don't come across elsewhere. So I think people might be, maybe at full council meeting, just sort of like, or do a definition as to what it is.
I can send
that
out
can
an
go
email
out.
to everybody again, reminding them of their responsibilities, and that might be helpful if it could just be highlighted again.
But you need to say what it is,
Yeah.
because it's not a term that you come across in everyday life, is it? So, yeah. Yep.
I think we mentioned this at the last full council, didn't we? But maybe you could just provide me with a list of the councillors that haven't attended an assertion review this year, and I will make personal contact with them and either ask, presumably we've got all of the ones for this year in place, but what I'll do is I'll ask those individuals to come along to one of those assertion reviews to at least witness, so that they've got the assurance that they need at the end of, or the beginning of the civic year, to be able to sign all that off.
We've tried to do that, and if people are able to give us dates and times, if that's what we need to do, then that's what we need to do. We need to be flexible. So, you know, we're doing everything we can our side of the fence to try to facilitate this.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, so voting then, due process has taken place. I propose. Seconder? Councillor Carter, all those in favour? Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. No, it is an important part of the role of being a councillor. It takes an hour or so. Right, 10A is the internal audit. If members are happy with our internal auditor, then that's vote that it's taken to full council. So has anyone got any questions about our... Anne, do you want to?
Yeah, just to let you know, this year we're still within our 3-year contract with our current internal auditor. I am currently seeking quotations to bring back to this committee, hopefully before the end of the year, to re-engage with either our existing or a new auditor going forward. So we're still testing the market and doing everything as committee has requested. But it's just because we have to review the independence and their competence as per set out in the minutes. It's just to make sure that you are happy with those.
Yeah. And no problems have arisen, have they? That they've always been effective and everything. No questions? No. No. Right. So I'm happy to propose that. Seconder. Councillor Creek seconding. All in favour? Brilliant. That's everybody. Item 11, develop and obtain review relevant policies, strategies and procedures and guidance. So, review of scheme of delegation. Andy.
Okay, so attached is the drafted update to the scheme of delegation. All the changes proposed are in red. There's quite a lot of them, as you can imagine. The premise behind this is to fundamentally change the council's operation model so that members, and it says it in there, members are more like non-executive directors. They set the policy, the strategy and the direction of the council. The officers are then to operationalise that and deliver, and will be scrutinised based on their performance against those set KPIs in the corporate plan. So there is a lot of change in here. There's also some large numbers in here. This is tested through the staff review consultation process. and also a lot of the new roles, particularly the director roles, have been job evaluated based on these numbers, hence why they're in there. So any changes to this potentially would impact roles and pay and conditions and things like that. So I would hopefully, well, I'd like to nudge you not to make any changes to the numbers, but certainly, this is a document that is looked at every single year as part of the annual council meeting. So if something didn't quite work as it was planned, or if it needed further refinement, it is a process that is looked at least annually, but it can be brought back to committee at any stage. So I think this is the first version. There's a lot of change in there. You'll notice at the end of the scheme of delegation, the old table is still in there to say if we've missed anything, this is the principle that would follow if something hasn't quite been explained in here. But effectively it's delivering what the council has set out to achieve, and I would hope it has the support of this committee and full council when it reaches there. Any questions? Happy to answer them. Important point, because there is a lot more financial decision making for particularly directors, but also new staff. There is a safeguard in there around anyone on probation that they must still receive additional sign-off before they can make certain decisions, because obviously we don't know them fully, so you would expect there needs to be more safeguards whilst they're in probation. So there is a step, thank you Anne, that protects the council further.
So I presume that's in their contracts then. Yeah. Councillor Curry.
Thank you, Chair. Very excited about this rather potentially bland-looking document on paper, but what this means for the council. Andy, as you know, I've been talking about this for 4 or 5 years now. How this council has, in the past, potentially micromanaged its way from one thing to the next, and actually what we should be doing is moving away from that and being very much more strategic and letting the officers operationalise. I don't want to know what colour that wall's going to be painted. I just want to know that this building's kept up to a good standard, and and is painted at a frequency the officers feel is appropriate. So yeah, really excited about this document. Lots of work gone into this. Thank you very much for this, and genuinely excited to see it rolled out into the new financial year. I suppose a couple of questions. No concerns for me. Just a point of clarification. So one, can I just clarify, as the CEO, in there I just read about recruitment. Are you able to enact recruitment of new roles without a calling in period, which I think is a bit of a ridiculous thing of days gone by? Has that gone now?
So it's to undertake recruitment of all permanent posts where a post has become vacant. So these are existing posts that become vacant for whatever reason, and that's either a permanent or temporary post. It doesn't allow me to put in place vacancies outside of the current structure. So you would set your structure, you would have that budgeted, that would be in the budget.
Okay.
We go ahead with that. It would allow me to make changes. So, for example, if you had a role that was deemed by council strategically to no longer be necessary, it would allow me to move that money, subject to safeguards, to a different role.
Sure.
But I can't create money. So I still have to work within the budget. You have costed out every single role. It's in the budget, so I can't add any additional to that without a strategic decision from council.
Perfect. That's wonderful. That sounds good to me. Only other question really is just around the spending limits. I feel reasonably comfortable with what's here. It was more around what I suppose this potential disparity between some of the I don't want to call lower level roles, but some of the roles being up to 15,000. So, for example, deputy estates manager, whereas the managers of data protection, library, democratic services, events are 10,000. So, do we feel that is right? Do we feel that there's a disparity there given the seniority of those roles?
I think for the moment it was seen as right because of how those services operate. So certain services require more tools and equipment, so it was seen that you'd probably need a larger budget, or at least the maximum spend needs to be higher. Bearing in mind there's, for example, the library will have a £250,000 budget, but the manager can spend up to 10,000 on any of those budget lines in any one time. We don't believe that there would ever be a situation where 10,000, if it was, they can elevate it to a director. So I think for now, it seems reasonable. We can test that for the year and see what happens and come back to it. But bearing in mind those figures specifically go in the job evaluation and they're costed out. So if you want to up it, you may see scores go up and salaries go up as a result. So I think that's fair at the moment, and just test it perhaps for the year.
And no. No, yeah.
I think it's great just to speed things up, just to stop the
Yeah.
endless, every
Being
decision's got to
stuck
go
in
through
committee.
committees and wait for the next
Yeah.
committee, and what if it's not core. And at the end of the day, on the committees, we're like, yes, fine, just go, go and do it. So it just saves all of that. I think it's excellent.
Yeah.
Chair, I'd be thrilled to propose that.
Yeah, no, go for it, Councillor Freeman.
I would love to propose that the scheme of delegation 2026 version 0.1 be recommended to full council.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll second that. Oh, do you no, you were before me. No, Councillor say second it. All in favour? There we go. Brilliant. Awesome. 11B then is the Civility and Respect Pledge, which is a report is here from Laura, who isn't with us this evening, but Andy can briefly explain.
Yes, so Laura has done a bit of research on this for us. It is a national, strategy, for want of a better phrase. So this is led by NALC and the Society of Local Council Clerks, and it's recognising that at the moment the standards process perhaps doesn't have the teeth that really it should, and for the moment what they're suggesting is that a lot more emphasis locally is made of acting with civility and respect within the workplace, have that culture built in from day one, and then you shouldn't have any issues. I mean, I think we've been quite not lucky, but we as a culture we've already adopted that organically. There are other councils where there's some real horror stories and it's gone really wrong, and there's nothing there to assist with the management of that process. This is basically saying, as the core of the organisation, we're going to sign up to this pledge. It's going to form part of our code of conduct that we adopt, and our policies and procedures will follow that principle. And it all seems very reasonable. There's a number of councils, like Falmouth, Truro, that have already adopted this locally, and I think it's the direction of travel nationally. And so it's, I think, time for us to follow suit.
And so I'm really happy to propose this for working towards and adopting. Yeah.
I'll just make one
Oh,
comment.
right. Okay. Sorry. Yeah.
I think this is brilliant. As you know, we've had some challenges in the past, thankfully not very recently, so that's wonderful. I note, having clicked onto the link, that there's some training available. Maybe we should sort of ask that our councillors go and do that. My favourite line from the training: understanding psychopathic and narcissistic behaviour. So looking forward to that. Happy to second, Chair.
We could have a big things to spot, couldn't we? Poster on the wall. Yeah. Awesome. Yes. Vote on that then. Yes. All in favour. Yes. Wonderful. Thank you. Right, so that's to go in for full council for adoption, isn't it? Yeah, great stuff. Right, item 12 then is identifying appropriate projects for SIL funding. So I'd like to frantically turning the bits of paper over again. So we've got the Killercourt recommendation, and there's a handy set of photos here. So recommendation from E&F, I think, hasn't it come from, for that to go forward. Has anyone got any, sorry, So its recommendation is £10,705 towards the implementation of replacement of the railings of the Killer Court. And I've also added on to that to have like that bobble surface on the top for the visually impaired. I had mentioned it to Joe P in the past. Yeah, so hopefully that would be there rather than having a potential disaster down a flight of stairs. So are we voting on that, aren't we, to
Recommendation.
to full council? So I'm really happy to propose that. Seconder, Councillor Slade seconding. All in favour? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, those important. They get so much wear and tear, isn't it? And it's beyond a tin of Hammerite on those stairs.
And of course, we've got the new surf statue going just at the top of those
Just
stairs.
at the top of them, haven't
in the
they?
next
Yeah.
month or
Quite
so.
surf down the
Be
stairs.
good to get that done, yeah.
Yeah.
And using a local company too.
Yeah, brilliant. Oh,
Just while I'm here, where are we on the drainage thing? You know, with the fact that the drains that are there at the top are inadequate, and I think we were in the process of getting better drainage so that it doesn't flood with the shops.
From a very brief conversation I've had with Joe P, I know that we've approached Highways to see if they will make some changes further up, and we've been told they will always consider it, but obviously budgets allow, and I don't think there's any plan for any change there.
Drains, wouldn't you know?
Yeah. And I know separately to that piece of work is being done to see if we can get costed plans to try and change water channels. Obviously that's got to be done carefully, but that is a piece of work that Joe P is handling, I believe. Yeah.
yeah, because we don't want to. I know it wouldn't be on the same scale, but we don't want the repercussion of South West Water at the top of Tolkien, for instance, of the burst water main and things. We don't want sort of sudden water features effects coming out from the.
It sounds like we're also clearing up drains ourselves now.
Doing Cornwall Council's job for them. Very good.
Do you want to put your microphone on for that comment again?
What, doing Cornwall Council's
Yeah,
job for them?
thank
I'll
you.
happily put that on the
Yeah,
microphone.
yeah,
I shall
yeah.
pick it up with the portfolio holder.
Wonderful. Okay. Right. I've just noticed actually we jumped from item 12 to 17.
Yeah.
There was me thinking, oh my gosh, what have I missed? But yeah. Right. Correspondence. Not sudden influx of correspondences. Wonderful. None there. Right. So item 18 then. We need to go into exempt business. So this members of the public need to depart the room. Councillor. Hello.
Councillor Glenville. Sorry, we're having to. That's all right. We're having to go into exempt business now because there's some confidential items that we're talking about. So unfortunately, we shall have to ask you to politely
Depart
that way, if that's okay.
Yeah.
How are you finding it? Okay.
It's a bit of an eye-opener for me,
Yes.
to be fair. I'm not about it.
No.
That's why I want to come and observe, and I'll be coming and observing some of the other meetings here as well. So that's a gist of what's going on.
We welcome that. Your predecessor's predecessor used to come every meeting at the full council, so we very much welcome that.
Yeah, I'll also be in.
Very good.
I would like to see your paper if I could, just briefly.
This evening? Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Very briefly.
Yeah. If you wait downstairs, I'll come and find you. All right. Have a chat with Martin, the security guard. Nice chat. All right. Thanks, Heinz.
All in favour? Brilliant.